It is time, everybody, to talk about none other than the game you've all been waiting for, Need for Speed Unbound. Why is it quiet? Why is it so quiet?
I don't know why we're talking about this game.
Community topic, my friend.
That's right.
It's a community topic.
Community topic. I love community topic time.
Thank you.
Get excited.
I am pumped now.
By community, is it just you?
No. Robert submitted this in the Discord channel.
I thought you were going to spit all over me.
I thought it was
Calm down over there. Calm down.
Brett's
Control
actually Robert. He
yourself.
created another profile.
So last podcast, we had Robert from the community submitted a question about predictions, essentially, for the new Need for Speed Unbound game that him and I talked about at one of our last community meetups.
Yeah.
And I haven't played a Need for Speed game in a while. Actually, it's been like 5 iterations of Need for Speed, I think. I used to be a huge Need for Speed fan. And then I kind of dropped off of it. Need for Speed Unbound. It's a new game from Electronic Arts, developed by Criterion. They've been making Need for Speed games for a while. They're one of the better developers, I'd say, in the family of Need for Speed developers. And this game is very interesting in that it is a kind of a take on the same kind of formula we've seen before, where it is a open world. They have an area called Lakeshore. Now, mind you, I'm playing this on PC. This is part of the EA Play Pro Pass. The game, as we're recording this, it's November 30th. You're going to hear this podcast on November 6th, I believe. Yes. So the game will already be out in the hands of everybody. I'm playing the early access version of it.
Ooh.
But it's still basically like it's a full game. It's just you got a little bit of early access to it. So this game is kind of centered around the idea of you got the same cops premise that you've had in games past. You have this big, huge open world playground. This one is called Lakeshore, and it has a big urban city. Kind of reminds me of Chicago a little bit. And it's also got like a coastline and stuff like that. Actually, it might be modeled after Chicago. I don't know. But it has the big open world. It's got a bunch of cars. It's got a bunch of tuning you can do to your cars, make them better, change the customization, all that stuff. And then you basically start out in the game where you're like working for this garage. This guy has this garage that he owns, and you're like kind of down in your luck. This is part of this. There's actually a story mode to this game, which I'll get into a little bit. But you're working as down in your luck kind of guy who's working for this guy at this garage, helping him with like pimping out cars, essentially. And then as part of that, you can use his garage as a safe house. So you go out and you are entering into the street scene with an old junker car that you transformed into a nice, clean, badass tuner car.
Okay.
And then you start the game and you go out and like compete in these street races. So you find these different meetups around the city, go to the meetup, do the race, and based on the amount of the where you placed in that mission, you get more money. So you can get as much as, let's say, $3,000, $4,000, whatever. If you place 5th, you still get like $1,500. If you place last, you get $300 or whatever. So you still can get money.
Prize.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You can also retry those missions if you want to, or you can just take that money and run. One of the kind of interesting things about it is there are cops in the world, right? And as you're playing through the game, once you leave, you gain heat from doing these street races because you're out in public, you're passing by cops. They're like, "Oh my gosh, there's illegal street racing going on. We need to stop this." So the more intense races you get into, the higher the heat level could become.
Okay.
And then when you get out of the race and you're out into just a free roaming world, you have to get back to a safe house to actually bank your cash because there's heat on you.
Because the cops come after you.
Because the cops are going to come after you. So if you're just like roaming around, you can't just like roam around the city and just keep playing races and stuff like that because you're going to keep banking this money and raise your heat level more and more.
Why isn't this Need for Speed Heat?
Well, because they already brought out Need for Speed Heat.
I know, what the heck? Heat
Yeah.
2.
So this is
that's what it's been.
Need for Speed Heat was the first one where they had the heat terminology, and it just kind of like became part of the moniker.
What's
I
the
think.
benefit of like doing a race and having heat on you and going into another race? Does it does it multiply or does it stack, or is just you're just based with that money? You just have that money.
Yeah, I think you just have that money. I don't think you're gonna have like more money output from like doing that stuff. It's just there might be more activities available to you during
those like
day-night cycle thing. Because the other thing that's interesting about it too is like you go out during the day, you do your races, you come back, you bank your money. When you go back out, the next cycle is nighttime. So there's day driving for the first run, and the next time you go out and it's nighttime.
Okay.
Well, your heat doesn't go away the first time you come back to the safe house. Your heat stays through a full day cycle. So you have to go out twice. So the second time you go back out, you still have heat on you. So you got to be a little bit more careful when you go out at night because there's a higher chance of you getting picked up by the cops.
Okay.
And then when the cops come after you, you basically just have to run from the cops. If you get away, you're good. If you don't get away, then you lose all your money.
Next question. Let's say you're out here and you have heat on you, but they're not going after you yet. The cops aren't. You can go into a race if the cops aren't on you, but if the cops are on you, you can't go to a checkpoint and go do a race, right?
You have to evade. You have to escape,
the police before you can go to a race.
Yeah.
Now, does the cops get involved in the race at all?
Yeah, so the cops are in the race as well. So you
Okay.
can actually gain heat while you're in the race and stuff like that. But you're not going to necessarily, I don't think, lose your money in the race itself. I haven't been caught while I've been in the race.
Oh,
but
okay.
they're gonna try and run you off the road.
Yeah.
And they're gonna mess up your game basically because they get aggressive, man. They're freaking
Like
crazy.
How aggressive? Like GTA 5 aggressive cops?
They will come up next to you and they will like sideswipe you to try and run you into the wall.
Wow.
Yeah, so they'll try and take you out.
Is it pretty easy to invade them once you have heat on you?
In the game so far it is, yes, but
Yeah.
I'm early heat level, so like once you progress further you'll start getting challenges and meet up and races and stuff that generate more heat.
Gotcha.
And the more heat you have, the more they respond to you. So it's kind of like in GTA where it's like 1 star, it's like you got, pedestrian cops coming after you or whatever. In this one, like one heat level is essentially cops are going to kind of ignore you unless you do something stupid. When we get to heat level 2, they're going to recognize you and they might come after you. Ooh. Heat level 3, they're going to freaking come out in full force, and then it goes up more progressively from there. So what I'm at right now is just the basic heat level where like they'll see me, they know who I am, I'm kind of a threat, but they're not going to come after me just yet. But I'm getting close to that point where it's like, yeah, they're going to come after you. But in the races themselves, they are coming after you and trying to take you down. So the cops is a huge part of the game where like, that just adds another level of, which is kind of cool from a lot of games because like Need for Speed, I think is kind of, that's part of their identity is that you have cops in the racing game and you have to evade the cops throughout the course of the game. And that just adds some heightened sense of urgency as you're playing through any part of the mission. You're not going to just like spend time and just like take in the scenery of the ocean, while you're driving down the road.
It's not like Gran Turismo or like, not Gran Turismo. What's that?
Forza.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's not like Forza at all. And Forza, I think, has cops too, but like they're like not even worth bothering with kind of thing.
Okay.
But in here, it's like a key feature of the game.
Okay.
Do other contestants try to run you off the road too?
Yes. And there's also the other thing that's I thought was really actually impressive about this game. This is the first game I played that actually has a significant amount of realness to the world. So there's cars driving around everywhere. Like you're driving through the streets, there's actual cars. The cars are fully modeled like real vehicles. Like they're not like just like this unmarked vehicle that you've never seen before. Like there's Ford F-150s, there's Dodge Challengers, there's Dodge Chargers, there's like Sprint van, like all the like licensed vehicles that you see in the real world have been modeled in this as both your cars you drive and the cars that are in the game world itself. So you could like crash into a Dodge Charger like on the side of the road as you're driving down. And if you do that, you can lose like 3 or 4 spots in the race because like you have to also evade the pedestrian cars plus the cops plus the other drivers you're racing. So there's a lot of obstacles you got to fight through. And in addition to that, there's pedestrians actually walking around this city, which they've never had in a Need for Speed game before.
What?
So now, granted, you can like you run into them, they just like jump off the side. You can't actually hit them and hurt them.
They just dodge before you get hit.
Yeah, they dodge before you get there. But the fact that there's like actual people running around this environment was very surprising to me because that's never been in a Need for Speed game before.
I see.
The a couple of key mechanics that are in here, they have drifting, which is like very easy to do. You just tap the brake and you start drifting around a corner. And then that's where one of the big stylistic art direction features comes into play, which is the
spray paint
animated
looking
graffiti is what they're kind of calling, or live graffiti is what they're kind of calling it. So whenever you're driving your car and you're going into a drift or you're doing a boost, your car actually animates like graffiti because originally they were going to have graffiti on the walls everywhere in the world and kind of animate that graffiti on the wall. And they were like, what if we put it on the car? And like, what if we actually made it like a key feature of the car? And I thought it was going to look really gimmicky, but
I like it.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like it actually gives it a lot of character that you've never really seen in an Need for Speed game before. And you can even, one of the questions that Robert had asked, I think, was about the level of customization in the game. You can actually customize your animations that come off your car.
So it's kind of like Rocket League where you can customize your goal, your boost and all that. You can customize the animation.
Yeah. So there's like 15 or 20 different like color combinations that with different animations and stuff that come off your car as you're drifting around. You can change your body kits. You can add a whole bunch of decals to your car to make it look really any way you really want to. There's a lot of depth to the car customization. You can add like neon underneath your car. You can raise and lower your car, change like the ride height of different things, change the different traction. You can even change the sound of your car and how intense it sounds, like the rev of the engine and stuff like that. There's a lot more to the customization than I thought. Not near as much as like is in a Forza Horizon, I don't think. Of course. But it was pretty impressive. I mean, it was pretty good.
I'm gonna back up a little bit, back to the driving a little bit. With the crashes, does your car get damaged at all? Or okay, all right.
Yeah, when you crash in a car, like this is a thing that I don't like, is that if you just like tap a car, your fucking car goes in a crash animation and like you restart basically.
Oh,
and it sucks because it's like I was winning a race and I was almost to the tail end of it, and I was coming down this hill and there was two civilian cars out there in front of me, and I thought I had squeezed in between the two of them, but then one of them like moved over enough just to hit me, and it just like blew up my car, and then I like fell back to like 5th place.
Wow. Seriously?
And I was like, that sucks. Yeah. So there's like some weird, and I don't know if it's just because I'm still getting used to like the way the game plays, because it's a very arcadey game, but there is some like there's a technique to like how you drift and how you turn the corners to like make sure you stay ahead of the pack. But there's also games that I played where like the catch up, what do they call it, the rubber band effect in the AI is really, really bad, where like you get way ahead of somebody and all of a sudden the car is just like literally rubber band to you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like unrealistic in how you're playing. Like if you're really good at the game, you shouldn't have cars like catching up to you every 5 seconds. If you're driving faster than them, you should be faster than them. You should be,
you should
pulling
be
away from
pulling
them,
away.
not the opposite. So I'm hoping that that's not the problem here. It only happened to me once yet, but there were some frustrating moments where I was like, accidentally just tapped something and it just like wrecked my car or slowed me down or whatever, and I was like, shit, like it was so hard to like get
seriously
top placement.
I figure
and stuff
it'll
like
do like a little like actual like car like doom, I get bumped and it throws me off a little bit, not do a whole.
Yeah, that's messed up.
That's
it
kind of
depends on your speed too. I mean, like if you're going a little bit slower or whatever, like if I'm just coming around a corner like bumped into a car, it's not going to do that.
Yeah,
but if I'm like coming into them like I rear end them, like it's not just going to like slow me down, it's going to create a crash animation. I'm like, man, that shouldn't do that at that speed. But I don't know.
But we're watching some footage here, and I really like the Miles Morales comic book feel that they gave to everybody.
Ask,
like it's not like super realistic, although the cars look, they're trying to go for that photorealism, I feel like.
Yeah.
And maybe some of the world, but yeah, the characters are very comic booky, and those animations really kind of tie into it. And I think it's a good enough
Does that not
refresh to everything.
Yeah.
I would be a little enticed if there wasn't so much going on right now in video games.
Does that not throw you off a little bit at all?
No, it doesn't.
Seeing that at all?
Well, because
Seeing
they go
the real
for
car and then seeing an animated Miles Morales character, your character next to it.
No,
You?
I like it.
It depends on the type of character, because there was a few of them in here that, I mean, it is cool because it's kind of like Into the Spider-Verse meets like Midnight Club, if anybody ever played Midnight Club back in the day. It does feel very close to Midnight Club, actually, which was a hugely popular game back then. But it's got the Into the Spider-Verse kind of like twist in there as well. But there are times where like, because the clothing that they have, you can also customize your character's clothing. So you pick from like one of 8 different avatars, and you can customize their look a little bit, and you can customize their clothing. And when you customize their clothing, depending on the type of clothes you pick, if you pick really bright clothes, there's parts at the beginning of the game where like they're going by your rival in that race essentially, and they show his car and they show him or her in the car.
Yeah.
And if they're wearing bright clothes, it just like clashes in the shot of like, because they're so bright, and then the car is like dark inside, so you're like, oh gosh, it's kind of like kind of weird. But beyond that though, like in the actual animation and stuff like that, I thought it would. I didn't really like it when I first saw it, but now that I've seen it a little bit more
growing on you
in action, like it's actually kind of cool in the cutscenes and stuff.
Yeah.
Because there are full cutscenes in this game.
Yeah. Well, to go a little deeper, I feel like that isn't used a lot in video games. And, I think Spider-Man really pushed that forward for that kind of style. And then you have Borderlands, which originally was going to be, as realistic as you can get back in the day. Like the original build. Then they went for the whole comic book kind of feel, or cel-shaded.
Yeah.
And it really just like changed that and made it what we know it as today. And so having that like those two things mesh together, I think it's interesting and it's good for a game like this.
Yeah.
That needed something refreshed because there's so many games that driving games that are all super realistic and like how do you compete against that?
Yeah.
Like it's just something new and I think it's kind of I don't know hip or whatever you want to say that.
Hip.
It definitely gives it a sense of identity.
Yeah.
Not only in like the gaming, the racing game sphere, but as a Need for Speed game.
Right.
Like this actually like ties it in as like this is you see the art style, you're like, oh, Unbound for sure. You know, like I don't know if they'll continue that with future games or anything like that, but it definitely ties it into this art style. One of the negatives I have of this game is it's got a story to it. And the story is not great, as you can kind of imagine. And the dialogue, oh my God. I saw some comments. People were like, oh, the dialogue's really good. I'm like, what are you smoking, bro? Because, like, the dialogue's so bad. It's like you have two developers that have never, like, you know, they played video games all their life. It's like,
2K,
yeah, it's like an NBA 2K like thing where it's like,
Dude, that was so bad.
When you start the game, your avatar is with this girl that you and her have, like, you know, you're kind of down on your luck. You're like, you know, trying to just find your way in life or whatever. So you start working with this Rydell guy for Rydell's rides, and you're working for him, helping him like tune up cars and stuff like that. And then there was a moment where I'm literally like, every time you jump in a race, you and your avatar partner character are talking to each other while I'm sitting here running from cops, avoiding pedestrians, driving through, and they're having a whole dialogue conversation the entire time.
With no care in what's actually happening.
No care in what's happening. I'm like,
wow.
One, how are y'all even comprehending what you're saying to each other? And two, like, I'm trying to drive. Like, this is I cannot pay attention to what you're saying. Every once in a while, I'll hear something that they're saying. I'm like, did you really just say that? Like, there's a whole, like, even like little political thing where like they have the mayor of Lakeshore comes on. She's like, we all need to back the blue because they're out there defending us from those illegal street racers. And then the street racers in the car are like, yeah, we're like, you know, I can't believe she's hating on us street racers. We're not doing anything wrong. You're driving illegally on the road racing. You freaking just ran into a car.
Yeah, like wrecking.
She's like, you got to feel bad for us. You know, we're just trying to get by and make a living. Yeah, making a living running into cars on the freaking streets.
Get a job.
Like, it's so weird.
Get a job.
Oh my God.
So the writing, the people that wrote this just are lacking in just.
Was that supposed to be empathetic?
Guess,
like,
you know, like
you're obviously you could. Well,
we're not doing anything wrong, guys. I know we're mowing down mailboxes and running over people, hitting other cars. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's so
like
funny.
Taxpayer money has to pay for
That's
this.
a stupid thing to like even input.
It's so funny. But beyond that, I mean, the game runs well. It's got a great art style. Car customization is pretty solid. I mean, there's a lot of progression stuff happening here. I'm anxious to see as I continue to play, like how much more the map opens up and like, is there a lot more stuff I can do within like a session before I have to like go back and like. One of the things I recently did was I unlocked another safe house. I found that there's going to be like points where you can do like, you can pick up people to help them out to get them away from the cops. And you basically are like kind of a delivery driver and then you take them to their safe house and that unlocks another safe house in the map. So you don't have to drive all the way back across Lakeshore to like bank your money. So that was kind of interesting.
Can you go into the safe house when cops are chasing you?
Yes.
Or you have to invade them.
Yeah, they stop right outside.
Where'd they go? It's like the Vice City thing when you go in the paint shop and they all disappear. Like, oh, we don't know where he went.
It's like in Saints Row. I could be wrong, but I feel like I did that one day and it was okay. I made it to the safe house. I got there and I was fine. But
it'd be great if they're all just like, there's a cut scene and they're all just waiting out there with their guns held out.
Holding their guns out.
We didn't go anywhere.
They're like, man, it took you long enough to get out of there.
All right. Let him by. He's fine. This is somebody else.
Different color car.
Yeah. There's full damage modeling on the car, so as you hurt your car, you can like see your car like get all fucked up and stuff. So that's kind of cool. And then the other thing I want to mention is there is a PvP open world mode, free roam mode with friends. So it's cross-play, cross-platform kind of thing. So I'm anxious to get into that part, which I obviously haven't touched that yet. But it's a separate experience from the story mode. Okay. So you go into story mode, you do all the story. And you go into PvP free roam, which is where you can like meet up with other racers in the world, do races, compete against each other, so party up and all that stuff.
On that aspect of it, I wonder if it's a little different. If the PvP mode, can you set your own like racetrack up, like map area? Be like, hey, we're gonna go here, here, here. I'm gonna set up
question.
this race. 'Cause that'd be cool.
A lot of races or a lot of racing games do have that. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. They do have the ability in here, like kind of like in Saints Row, where you can like create your own boss. You can create your car, pimp it out however you want, and there's like a community place you can like
thing.
share it and stuff like that.
Share
and there was already like a shit ton of like really badass like designs already in the shop. That was like, wow, people have been busy on this thing. But yeah, so that's Need for Speed Unbound. That's I'm gonna play a lot more of it probably and give it a go. It is a $70 game, so it's full price. It's a lot, but like I said, I got on EA Play Pro, so it's included with the subscription.
What are you playing it on?
PC. Yeah.
Okay.
But no Game Pass. Oh, actually, if you have Game Pass, you get EA Play as part of Game Pass, and with that, you get to play 10 hours of this game at no cost. So you get to play up to 10 hours.
That's one hell of a demo.
For free and like, run the demo.
Yeah.
And if you like it, you get to buy it discounted through Xbox because Xbox does discounts if you have the Game Pass.
Wow.
So I don't know what the discount is, but it's a pretty solid deal if you have an Xbox or if you have a PC with Game Pass.
Wait, so you don't have to have anything else, just Game Pass?
You just have the Game Pass comes included with EA Play.
Yeah.
Just not EA Play Pro.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so EA Play is like the cheaper version that lets you have like a lot of their games on EA are going to be like that set up that way where you have like a long tail demo or early access of it, but you can't get the full access to the game like you do with the EA Play Pro. But 10 hours is like very extensive. I mean, that could be enough to where you're just like, okay, I'm done.
I'm done. This is it. I'm good.
So kinda
Interesting.
cool. Yeah,
Damn, that's a long time.
I know. Yeah.
I'm not sold on this game
Yeah.
at all.
Okay.
But
Not at $70
looks it looks good. It looks pretty.
I think it's not for like it's definitely a specific audience. I feel like if you did enjoy like Need for Speed Underground and stuff like that, which I used to love those games, this isn't it, but it scratches the itch a little bit.
There you go.
And I'm interested in that. And like there was enough here to keep me wanting to come back. I don't think it's going to sell me completely, but it's better than some of the other more recent ones. Like I didn't play Need for Speed Heat or anything like that recently, but several of the Need for Speeds that have come out I just didn't really care for. This one has a pretty cool identity and a pretty cool look, and it runs well, and it's the racing, the driving mechanics seem pretty good. I played Crew 2, and that was like a hot pile of garbage. This actually feels better. So
Okay.
there's some good stuff going here. So yeah, Need for Speed Unbound, everybody.
Nice.
Check it out. Comes out December 2nd. You listen to this podcast, it'll have been out for 4 days. So let me know what you think. And if you want to play, join our Discord channel, and I will play.
I mean, they should have went for like a Fast and Furious 10 type thing. You know what I mean? Like story.
Oh, story.
You want like freaking like Vin
Yeah,
Diesel
man.
like working for the Popo and
That's
like
right. That's right.
know,
You're
like,
like infiltrating
hoisting
the
like,
underground.
I think their
Yeah.
reasoning behind racing is kind of dumb, but that's
And
just
now-
my own opinion.
But then you're playing the cops, so now instead of you're unbound.
Yeah.
You're down. You're everywhere. You're in Africa, taking down planes with cars.
I also want to mention ASAP Rocky like did all the music, a lot of the music for this game, so he's like a very prominent figure in the game. And his music, it's a lot of rap music in the soundtrack, and it's a pretty good soundtrack. So I'm not a huge fan of ASAP Rocky, but like it's still interesting to like. It's a good soundtrack. So.
Is it the Unbound album?
Like, how the fuck is the mayor not going to be mad about that?
I know.
Dude, he just took out like a whole
into
gas station.
He's like, all right, when you protect your citizens, they all have anti-magnet
Against
things. They just get cut. Yeah. Everything else is just going to get fucked.
I'm sorry. Okay.
So funny. So yeah, we'll see where things go from here. It's a good game. Also, if anybody's playing the game, they're like, the UI is really blurry. It is blurry. It's intentionally blurry, and I don't really like it. But they like have it where like when you're watching like when you're looking through 3D glasses, and you take your 3D glasses off, and it's kind of like
blurred,
offset a little bit. It looks like that in here.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I'm like,
I see it.
I need some 3D glasses, I guess, to make it pop. Maybe it pops or some shit. I don't think that's
That'd be great.
intentional. I think it was meant to like.
Oh,
be
you're
the
going
illusion of
fast.
speed, kind of like
You're
in
going
Gotham
so
Knights.
fast.
Let's blur the edges.
Yeah, blur the edges and have the like air currents coming by.
God.
Look how
So
fast
funny.
you're going.
Oh,
Yep. So that's it, everybody. Need for Speed Unbound. Check it out.